if there are thousands of covert harassment operations like mine, what does it all add up to? And what do we call that? Confusion over what it really is, and even the lack of language to describe it, puts the perpetrators in the position to both define the terms and control the narrative. So I offer you my attempt at a clunky yet encompassing enough term: crowdsourced, gamified totalitarianism. Crowdsourced, gamified totalitarianism. So why crowdsourced totalitarianism? A government agency, were it to be publicly identified as engaging in such, would spark outrage. Protesters would converge on the spot and demand its dismantlement. But crowdsourcing breaks it up into hundreds of thousands of pieces and scatters them across the face of the earth, making it easier to hide or outright deny. The irony is, the civilian volunteers who make up 99% of the ranks would be among the protesters were the same duties performed exclusively by government employees. When you crowdsource and power share, people feel very differently about the erosion of our rights, evidently. The rest of society then lets its guard down upon seeing its good sons and daughters as willing participants. There's also a certain amount of compartmentalization, so that, for example, members of one operation are not necessarily aware of other operations or the big picture, or it's likely that they don't care or don't want to know. We can see the same effect as well of compartmentalization within a single operation, with members once again either not knowing the connection to the big picture or not wanting to know. All right, then, why gamify totalitarianism? In order for it to not be rejected by the population, participation levels have to be very high. There are simply not enough criminals and informants to fill out its ranks, so a large number of ordinary people are required. Through gamification, entire families can be recruited and seemingly tricked into accepting the surveillance state and that some people in it exist just to be hunted. You addict participants with psychological payoffs and social benefits, the most noteworthy of which is protection from the criminal system itself. Gamification also helps to take the edge off of or to disguise the inhumane treatment that targets the fuel of the system have to be put through every day. It's pretty crazy how you can take the very same people who would be outraged at what you created and would be on social media denouncing you, and you can make them into the most aggressive guard dogs of your new system simply by crowdsourcing and gamifying. There's no change in values or morals here. I'm not sure we as a society have been prepared to face something like this, perhaps because we automatically associate democratization with what is good and beneficial without realizing that what is bad and harmful, or an evil system of control, can also be democratized to some extent. And what we're dealing with here is the foundation of what amounts to a new class system. We've been brought up to be on the lookout for what I call Raiders of the Lost Ark Nazis, that is, obvious fascism in obvious shapes and forms. But those who seek that kind of power and control are always evolving their methods and especially their appearances. So other forms of authoritarianism have been pretty much ignored by all of us, allowing these people to slowly conquer society from within. The architects of this slow motion revolution, taking decades, knew their history. They knew their mob psychology. They were clearly impressed by the level of control achieved by certain regimes, but they knew that to continue along that path, they could never make the mistake of giving their movement a public name, uniforms, or publicly identifiable leadership. I bring you this far only to have to inform you that I could have just used the word Big Brother, but I resisted because the general public's conception does not include the aspects just discussed and only elicits in us mental images of some elite network. But Big Brother, it turns out, works by including and being made up of largely normal people.